Vehicle and Asset Finance from ABSA, going the extra mile. Vehicle and Asset Finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
We continue with the 6th round of the ABSA Off-Road Championship in Limpopo. And up front of the specials, there was a change. Nick and Ryan Harper were still chugging away, but had lost time when they stalled in a riverbed.
After the first hour, it was the Harper's teammates Berthold and Vermeulen who had taken the lead, while Corbett and Balzard started into second, relegating the Harpers to third.
Once again, it was shaping up to be an epic battle.
Cronje and Birkin was still going well, even though Taylor had set the fastest time in the first hour of racing in the production car class, while Hall had hit the ditch way too hard and broke a vertebra in the process. Foss and Pitchford were looking for win number 4 of the current series, and they had gone into second spot, while Probler and Moore were menacingly poised.
Mark Ferguson and Craig West gave Ford 2 in the top 10.
The Nissans working themselves up the order must have worried the rest of the field massively. Taylor and 5-time production off-road titleist Houghton were having a great run, and the Toyota Challenge was looking right on track for a strong finish, but the designated service point was still a good hour and a half away.
And now one man who really knows how to coax a car into giving its best is the jovial Grobler. He and Moore were quietly working their way up after starting in 7th place overall.
Rolled jovial he may be, but he's also one very determined character, looking for win number 25 in the series since the year 2001.
That's 100 and plenty all the way.
Corbett and Balzar really did seem to have the Century Properties Development Century 1 running well. The growing pains seemed to be behind them. Finally.
Yeah, but no one had yet been able to sneak up to or past Berthold and Vermeulen in the Porter. The turquoise terror was controlling things right from the front.
With Visser and Badenhorst making sure that the Castrol Toyota Hilux was staying on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, Arnie, you mean where it's all possible?
Sort of. The Audi V8 powered bat of Matthews and Smith was arguably having the best run of the specials, and they'd slotted into the top 3.
But now notice the softly approach here by Neil Woolridge on the Ford's accelerator.
It's exactly with that type of steady driving that Neil and Kenny have brought it home in each one of the races so far this year.
That's only 3,200 Ks of racing on it, you know?
Not a long way, really. Reliable is a good word for this group.
With Boriawa and Rousseau finally also getting their car to be bankable, they have become a very serious threat for the championship. They were holding very little back at this stage.
Foss was also letting it all hang out. The SA chap had dominated the first part of the season, winning 3 out of 4, but was backing a little in Limpopo.
The dust was excessively tough to drive through, leaving little to no visibility, as the XL dealer team found out. Still, they were also making a big surge.
The Barkhuisens adopted their steady-as-she-goes attitude, but they made a big mistake right here. And exacerbated it a little bit more.
On the road to nowhere, Martian Groeneveld's Corvette engine Regent Racing Bat had also made a giant move, up from 18th overall after a very dusty start for them.
Meanwhile, George and Sharon were still trying to wiggle their way through an opening that was too small for the Toyota Hilux, while teammates White and White made their way past.
But it meant the other competitors had to find a way around. And they did. Makakanene powerfully around.
but it certainly looked like the end of the road for the bike agents.
The Feltex boys appeared next and were enjoying a very good run on Loop 1 of the Limpopo 400. George needed more height.
Ek dink hierdie rolbank is bietjie hoog vir die karre, maar vir die bakkies in elk geval. Dan lyk my die radkas op die plat sit gaan. Ons staan hier so. Dink nie ons gaan baie ver.
The realities of off-road racing. It happens in a second, but it meant that all the SPs were moving up a place, including the Unifreight Ford of Fantonda and Guapa, into 10th place in fact.
As the local radio station Capricorn FM was reporting, it was all happening out there. The Barkhuizen stablemates and Ruacon CEO Peter Ruthven and JD Boshoff came by. Not a pretty sight for the boss.
Warren Clarkson were making a spirited run, and they were looking good for a top 10 place after starting off 17th in the specials.
By now the sun had crept out, but there was no wind to speak of, so the dust was billowing and hanging around. Whitehouse and Carlson making their own clouds.
It was becoming a cloudless day though, but with a silver lining for championship leaders Cully and Quinton Silwalt, up from 31st after a dismal prologue. Pace aplenty.
Hendrik Kraai was next, and his Keymax Properties bat was a good 4 minutes to the better in Class B. But that wasn't enough of a gap to relax at all.
And in Class D, the leaders, as they were from the start, the Zermattens, who were also just a few minutes ahead of their pursuers.
Second in Class B, it was Lo de Brain and Rudy Brits in the Ruacon bat, keeping it together well.
And in Class B, it was the brothers Johan and Etienne Besaidnout in their bat, but the race was certainly on here.
Defending Class D champions, Cliff Weichelt and Nick Elson, their Toyota, were trying to keep the Zermattens within eyeshot. And at the same time working on maintaining a gap over this husband and wife pairing, Ramon and Marit Besaidnout in their Toyota Hilux. In Class D, the gloves were off. They certainly were, and in the Class E battle for supremacy, Dion Fenter and Ian Palmer were setting the pace, but only had a few minutes to spare over the chasers. The dust was getting in everywhere, but luckily not in our cameraman's eye. In there, he somehow found second place in the E-Class race. Dewald van Breda and Johan de Toy keeping Fenter and Palmer in their sights. After almost 160 kilometers of racing on the first loop, Forsen Pitchford had gone from 7th to 1st with a blistering drive, while Grobler and Moore were also looking menacing. And in the specials, it was indeed a special effort from Variawa and Rousseau, from 6th to 2nd in the most difficult passing conditions imaginable. The Harpers had stalled in a deep riverbed but had recovered to 3rd place. And at the DSP, there was just 15 minutes for refuel, repair and remove it. A tired-looking Taylor had to cut the Toyota some slack on the way into DSP.
How's it going, Anthony?
That's going well. We've got a bit of an overheating problem now the last 10k, so I had to back it off a bit. But yeah, so far so good. I'm enjoying the route. It's nice. It's well marked. Let's just bring it home now.
Well behaving so far?
Yeah, it's behaving very well. I must say the guys have done a superb job prepping it. No problems. Robin's doing an excellent job as well in the nav side. And yeah, let's just get it home and with the 1-2 finish.
And Grobler had dust coming out of his ears.
Nee, alright, dankie man. Ons net verwoedstop gehad. Maar ons gaan lekker. Hulle het ons bietjie lank opgehou. Ons het seker maklik 2 minute of so verloor agter die ouens omdat ons kort in die stof was. Die wind het so hier en daar gehelp en so aan, maar dit gaan goed sover. Die kar is in een stuk, hy loop baie lekker en ja, ons het nog lekker amper 200 km om te gaan. So baie kan gebeur. Ons gaan maar net kyk wat gebeur oor dit.
Bertolt and Vermeulen appeared next, 4 minutes to the better, and ready to take on refreshments for them and the car. The Harpers were ready to step into the breach one more time.
Yeah, it's been good fun. We've had an interesting time out there. Andre's just telling me all the time, easy, keep it straight, easy, keep it straight. I said to him like this, I don't know if we'll win Class B. We seem to be 4 minutes ahead of the next Class A car, so we're just going to try and do the same thing again next lap.
Is it tough out there?
It's very tough out there. It's very tight, it's rough, it's treacherous, well marked, well organized event, but it is definitely a tough event, and for the guys to bring it home later is going to be a challenge.
The Ford squad were effective in the pits area. They had to try and find a misfire which had occurred about halfway through the first loop.
It's been fine. We just we were after the riverbed. We had a bad misfire. We had to stop for a while to try and sort it out, but it came right on its own, but we lost probably about 8 minutes, I think.
Some of the steeds came limping home, while others had virtually no repairs necessary.
Century's Rudy Balzar and his driver Mark Corbett did some great driving.
Yeah, it's not been bad. The river was a bit rough through the water and we had a puncture, and other than that it's been going well.
Car also still going well?
Oh, going very well. No problems. So the puncture took us a bit long to change.
Very businesslike, and Rudy certainly had that look in his eye. DSP is always a bee-like hive of activity, and in Limpopo it was no different. For Des Bezuidenhout in third, the Adenko bat in Class B, life could just not be better.
Very much. A lovely day. Quick. A lot of dust. But it's nice.
The route very tough?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Nice and cool though.
Well, yeah, after all the river crossings, we've been having an aircon unit, yeah.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, overcoming all